Welcome, everyone, to another episode of It's a Wrap with Rap. I am your host, Ron Rappaport. I would like to thank all of our listeners, viewers, supporters, and sponsors for helping to make this podcast such a success and move the podcast into the top five in the Overcoming Adversity genre podcast ranking on the web as monitored by FeedSpot. The podcast is being heard and viewed in all 50 states, all provinces of Canada, and over 70 countries around the world on all major platforms and on our website. Please visit our website, it's a wrapwithrap.com, to find all the episodes, previews of future episodes, contact information, and find products and services offered from our sponsors. This podcast features people who have overcome life's challenges and adversities, people who can inspire, motivate, and educate us on an assortment of topics. My guest today is Elena Nicole. Elena is a health, life, and business mindset coach. Elena helps women and men stop overeating and feel more in control of themselves with food. She has learned from her experience the reasons for overeating. She lost more than 30 pounds while gaining control of the emotions that caused her to overeat. Elena is a certified holistic health and life coach specializing in helping professionals lose weight and get healthier realistically and sustainably while feeling more empowered, confident, and in control of their health and life. In her one-on-one coaching program, she combines mindset hacks and traditional weight loss strategies to get her clients lasting results. Welcome, Elena, to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for
Well,
having me.
well, it's our pleasure. Now, I would like you to tell us about your growing up years and your family situation and your health concerning your weight and state of mind.
Sure. Yeah. So my journey with all of it started when I was pretty young, in middle school, like as far back as I remember, but I really don't know what age it was. And for me, now I know it really came from a place of just lacking confidence and just really not feeling comfortable with myself or liking myself. And I grew up in the 90s. So everyone around me, my parents and, all the adults, from what I remember, were always like on a diet of some sort. They were all trying to lose weight, trying to get skinny. So, me being a preteen, I just thought that was the answer. You lose weight, you get skinny, you're happy, and everyone else likes you, and then you like you. But of course, now I know that that is not how it works. And because I'm coming from this place of this like desperate place to do that, it really just set me up on this disastrous path for, years and years. I was always in a cycle of like, binging, dieting, restricting. And when I wasn't doing that, I didn't know how to manage, any of my emotions, which was leading me to do a lot of those things. I was, over shopping, over drinking, all of the things, and just thought, something was wrong with me. I just couldn't get a hold of myself and control. But really what it was is I just didn't have like the basic coping skills and like the mental awareness and resilience that would allow me to, overcome a lot of those things. So, as I was younger, I was diagnosed with binge eating disorder. I had a lot of issues with, overeating regularly. And, over the years, I've been able to, kind of overcome all of those things, getting into therapy and now, getting into coaching, becoming a coach myself. And now I help other people, do the same.
So when you said you were like binge eating or and overeating, how many pounds did you gain? Were you like considered obese or
Um, I'm not sure. I don't know if I would be considered obese. I gained about 35 pounds in 2 years at one point. And that was because I just had completely let myself go and didn't really realize that till, a couple years later when I got out of the situation I was in and just realized, wow, like what just happened here. But before that, I wasn't, I don't think I would be considered obese. I was maybe about 10, 15 pounds over what like a healthy weight would be, what like my body probably really needed, the weight my body really needed. And that really was because I was just consuming excess calories because I didn't want to deal or didn't know how to deal with just like everyday life situations.
gotcha,
What it
gotcha.
was. Yeah.
So you felt insecure, lack of confidence, would you say?
Oh yeah,
Couple,
absolutely. For
couple of
most of my
years.
life, up until probably about maybe 10, 12 years ago, is when I really started to see how important that was and how we actually create that. And it wasn't the way that I was thinking for, most of my life.
Now, can you tell us about how self-confidence and a person's mental health plays into the dietary habits of a person?
Yeah, so confidence, I mean, I can share from my experience is I thought that I would get that once I got to a certain weight. And that's absolutely not the way it works. A lot of times we think we'll be confident once we achieve something, once we accomplish something, once we reach a goal. And yes, while that can help, we can also create confidence right where we are right now, which with our thinking. Confidence is the feeling, which is created by a thought. So you can have that at any time and work on that now or as you're going down your path of working towards your goal. And you're going to get there a whole lot quicker and you're going to feel a whole lot better along the way. So for me, it was just not knowing that and thinking that it came from everything outside of me. I thought it came from being skinny, losing the weight. I thought it came from, having a lot of friends, from having the perfect boyfriend. And because I didn't have those things, I just thought, oh, I'm just, me, and I'm, worthless because I didn't realize that I had to create my own sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
So, that's that part. And then what was your other question regarding mental health?
Yeah, mental health.
How does it impact? What was,
How does it play into the dietary habits of people?
I mean, I think in so many different ways, but really it kind of goes back to what I mentioned before is our thinking creates feelings, which then drives actions. So when our mental health isn't at a place where it, we're our most productive or most positive, say we're thinking very negative thoughts every single day about ourselves, about our weight, we're going to be feeling, defeated. We're going to be feeling overwhelmed, maybe distraught, whatever it is for you, and you're going to be taking actions from that place. You're not even going to maybe try to go to the gym. You're not going to try to eat healthy because you're already beating yourself up and feeling so down. You're not even going to consider those things, or maybe you'll make short-term changes, but you're not going to stick with them. So when our mental health is at a place that I always say that that's where you should focus on first. If somebody comes to me and they're in a complete negative space, that's where we're going to go. We're going to be looking at their thinking. What are we thinking? Why are we thinking those things? And how can we start to focus on, more positive and productive thoughts? And then that's going to naturally get them, in a physically healthier place too. So yeah, it makes all the difference. It plays a huge role.
Okay, so they come to you like in a depressed state. You're gonna concentrate on that first.
If someone does come to me, a lot of times someone will come to me and they'll have a goal and we'll start talking about, okay, where do you want to go? What do you think is standing in the way? And what they'll give me is all of their perceived obstacles. And what I'll do is, of course, listen to those. But then if I also pick up on a lot of negative stories around those things, which is what typically comes with it because it's habitual thinking, and we want to start to dive into those stories and those excuses and those thought habits that we have before we even start talking about like a workout or a nutrition plan. It's like, okay, we got to talk about why you think that you can't control yourself around food or why you think that it's pointless for you to try. We
Right.
got to talk about that before we even give you a plan because if you don't think you're going to stick to it, why even
Yeah.
start?
Why even start with it then? Right.
Exactly.
So when did you personally have your rock bottom time period, and when did your turning point come?
That's such a tricky question because I feel like I had so many. I think for me, I specifically remember a moment in my kitchen when I had just a full out binge episode and just being completely hysterical after I was done and thinking to myself, I'm going to get out of this. And when I do, when I figure this out, I'm going to help other people with it. And I think that was like, okay, we're going to try something different. And for me, it was always just that mindset of, okay, what we're doing isn't working. We're going to try something next. We're going to try something next, and then we're going to try something else. And one of these times, something's going to work, something's going to click. And around that time as well, I had started to learn about the psychology of eating, which I had never before even heard that that was like a thing, which of course just comes down to like our thinking is driving all things. I always thought I just needed a new plan, needed a new approach, maybe needed to wake up earlier. I didn't realize that really had to evaluate like the deeper stuff, like what I was thinking, but also what I wasn't dealing with. That was one for sure, like rock bottom for me. Another one was, like I mentioned before, when I had gained that 35 pounds in a couple of years. And it was truly because I had got myself, or I had put myself in a very unhealthy relationship for a couple of years and got out of it. Had been eating twice what I was before, hadn't gone to the gym, which was like a first for me in a couple of years, and just facing the fact of where I had put myself, like just literally let myself go, had no care for like my body and myself during those couple years. And it was kind of like, what are we doing here? And that's where I think it was kind of like a wake up call for me. Like, we need to start caring about like, I have to start caring about myself first before I can care for myself, if that makes sense. So, like, you're not going to be consistent with any of the things that leave you looking and feeling your best if you don't have the underlying, like, actual care for yourself. And I
Right.
think that was like a whoa, like, let's shift that. And that was, definitely started me on, a path to where I am today.
Well, you kind of answered my next question, which was tell us about the methods you tried to improve your situation, but I think you just did.
Yeah.
So,
Tried
yeah.
and didn't work. Is that what the question is? Like things that I tried.
Yeah, no, the methods you tried to improve your situation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was quite a series of things. So yeah, I could partially answer that question, but it was learning, it was making that decision that I was going to start caring about myself, but then also learning like what nutrition truly is, because I grew up, like I said, in the 90s and like the diet world where everyone was just cutting their food down to nothing and cutting out fat and all that stuff. And I didn't even really know like what healthy actually was, like what that food is fuel. And if we eat the right things, we're going to naturally feel better and look better. So really diving into that, but then also what I mentioned before is that psychology of eating piece. So
Yeah.
that too, all of those things combined are really what were the game changers for me.
So I would say for our audience out there, mindset's very, very important.
Absolutely. Number one,
Number
by
one. Okay.
for sure. Yeah.
Now you become a life coach, Elena. What was
Mhm.
the spark that made you become a life coach?
Yeah. So I got certified as a personal trainer maybe about 8 or so years ago. And then I was talking to my clients, as I was training them, and they had all these questions and they wanted to just talk about a lot of deeper things that were impacting their health journeys. And so I got certified as a health coach because I was like, okay, I really want this to be holistic. Then as I get certified as a health coach, I started learning a lot of the tools and strategies of life coaching myself to improve my life. And they truly just changed my outlook on everything, like just really changed my life. So I wanted to be able to be certified to teach those things as well. So I added that in. And really what that comes down to is kind of what I was mentioning before, being able to kind of step back and evaluate our thought patterns and what else they're creating in our life, and having like a method to do that. And that's what you learn in coaching, and several other processes and methods to help people work through those things and really see that they can accomplish anything regardless of their circumstances or situations. And I was at a place when I was certifying to become a life coach where I was really stuck in another area of my life and just felt like I could go nowhere than where I was. Like I thought I was just stuck. I was heavy in victim mentality. And I found life coaching right around then. And like I said, it completely changed my outlook and my view on life, but also just my life as a whole. So that's why I added that in.
How long does it take to become a life coach?
There are varying lengths of programs. I mean, some are like a month, some are 6 months, some are a year. It really depends what type you do. I did somewhat of an accelerated version. It was self-paced. So I think I think I did it in about 3 months, which is pretty quick for the program that I did. Most people take about 6 months or a year, but I had set a specific time frame, and I wanted it done in that time. So I pretty much did it full time for a period of time to get completed.
So did you specialize, did you want to specialize in people with food issues?
Yeah, yeah, health and weight loss, but really in a healthy and empowering way. That's kind of how I look at it. Like a growth, it's it's almost like a growth mindset version of weight loss. That's kind of how I portray it. But yes, I wanted to focus on helping people regain control in their health with food and in their life. Yeah.
Now, it must really be advantageous for you to talk to your clients and say, look, I've been where you are.
Hmm.
They're
Yes.
gonna listen to you more than they're gonna listen to somebody who doesn't have that or didn't go through that journey.
100%. Yeah. I I don't know that I've ever had someone bring something up to me that I have not gone through myself. Like literally, I feel like I've gone through all of it. Because like I said, my journey started in middle school
Yeah.
and I'm in my late 30s. So it's been a while and I've gone through all of it. And every time I go through something new or I'm trying something new, I document it so that I can share it with other people and help other people through it. So yeah, I think that's so helpful that I can relate on every level with my clients what they're going through.
That's awesome. Now, what age group is coming to see you mostly? What's the
Um,
demographics?
Yeah, I mean, I work with women typically between, I'd say about 35 and 50 are the main age group that I work with. I started doing this about 5 years ago, so it probably was a little bit, maybe more like a 30 to 45 when I started. But that's kind of the age group that I mainly work with now. I have had a few clients who have been younger than that reach out, but typically their challenges are a little bit different. Not always, but sometimes their challenges are a little bit different. Maybe they're just starting to get into nutrition or healthy eating, not so much like they've been struggling with it for a while and the overeating is a challenge as well. So it really just depends on the person.
Okay, well, I was going to ask you about the techniques you use in life coaching and what is the goal you're trying to achieve with your clients? What do you tell them that the goal is?
Yeah, so they come in with a goal and I help them reach it.
Okay.
Usually, the clients that I'm working with, it's weight loss, but like they want to lose weight, but they also want to create like a consistent, healthy lifestyle. And usually, they want to stop eating against their own will. They want to stop eating when they really don't want to be. So it's typically a combination of those things.
Okay, can you tell us how do you get to the root cause of this, of their For all those taking health supplements and those concerned with maintaining excellent health, the It's a Wrap with Wrap podcast is honored to have Life Priority Health and Nutrition as a supporter of the podcast. Life Priority has been providing high quality supplements backed by science since 1994. What makes Life Priority different from other supplement companies? The scientists behind Life Priority, Dirk Pearson and Sandy Shaw, life extension scientists and designer food formulators are independent experts in anti-aging research and brain biochemistry and have won many awards, including the Award for Excellence in Health and Education from the Association for Holistic Health for individuals who have made special contributions to biomedical aging research. They wrote the runaway #1 national bestseller, Life Extension, A Practical Scientific Approach in 1982, which was a benchmark in the history of nutritional science and created a whole new biomedical paradigm. The book was deemed by the New York Times as the fountain of youth. Over 30 years ago, World Series champion Greg Pryor and his wife Michelle teamed up with Dirk Pearson to start Life Priority. Greg and Michelle were impressed with the integrity of the product. Dirk and Sandy actually started formulating their supplements only for their own personal use initially, so they take their products every day. Life Priority has over 50 years of collective experience in the health and nutrition industry in specific areas such as manufacturing at FDA, USDA facilities, ingredient analysis, scientific development and consulting, product knowledge and use, legal labeling, and relationships with nutritional product manufacturers. Greg and Michelle are always available to guide their customers in making their choices of formulations to take. You can call them at 800-787-5438, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. U.S. Central Time, and all your questions and concerns will be answered. Or you can set up a free consultation time on the website. Please check out the website, lifepriority.com, for detailed information on ordering products and product information. Please use the code RAP for a 10% discount on your first order. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Life Priority Nutrition does not provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Life Priority, established in 1994, offers supplements that are scientifically formulated, results-oriented, and generally recognized as safe and are manufactured at USDA and FDA inspected facilities of their issues.
Yeah, so it depends what the issue is, but that's literally what we do in our coaching sessions. So someone comes in and they tell me, I just cannot stop eating at night. I put my kids to bed and I sit down on the couch and I tell myself I'm not going to eat, but I eat. And we will literally walk back to the last time that happened. Usually it's the night before, and I will have them walk me through every single thing that happened in their house, in their mind, and we will trace it back to a thought because it always can be traced back to a thought. And usually it's something like, I had such a bad day, or I deserve a snack, or something like that. And then we want to poke holes in those thoughts that we have that are driving the action that we don't want, creating the feeling and driving the action that we don't want. So that's really where we start, is figuring out what that thinking is. And if people don't know, sometimes they don't know, then their homework, their job is the next night, we're not going to we're not going to eat, and we're going to sit there and we're going to write down every single thought that is going through our mind, because that's the work that we have to do the work on. And if we don't know what the thought is, we can't create the sustainable change. It's going to be the same cyclical effect that we've had before. So that,
Would they write down their situations that happened during the day? Would that be something they'd also write down? Because that
um,
could be a trigger.
yeah, yeah. I mean, possibly. Usually we start with that exact moment because we want to figure out exactly what that thought is that's driving them to do the thing. And then we'll talk about the rest of it as well, of course, because like to your point, if somebody's like, okay, I had a stressful day, so maybe that's what it is. We want to look at, all right, how can we help manage your stress? So then maybe you're not feeling that way at night. But the thing is, sometimes even if they didn't have a stressful day, they may have that habitual thinking anyways. It may just be like an excuse that plays for them to go and have the snack. So it's like
Right.
there's a lot of things to look at there. But the first thing we do is just like trace it back to that exact moment and what is going on in their mind to drive that.
Now, do you find that some of your clients cannot express themselves about the issues they are going through, and do you draw that out of them?
Yeah, my clients, I really don't. I haven't had that much of an issue with. I think they come to me. I'm very open. Like if you're on any of my social media pages, I talk openly about my challenges, my story, on these podcasts, I'm talking about it. So I think people come to me a lot of times because they say, oh, I heard that you struggled with overeating or binge eating or whatever it is, and that you've overcome it, that you gained all this weight and that you lost it. So they come to me knowing that they can relate to me and that I'm clearly not going to judge them on anything because I'm a coach, but we don't do that. But
Right.
also because they know I've been through it. So I don't really have the challenge as well. I did do business coaching for a few years, and that was more of a challenge in the business coaching world. Sometimes it was maybe they just wanted to make more money. Like I want to know what they're talking about. Like, and then it's just usually like everything. I just can't handle everything. And I'm like, okay, let's get specific on that because our brain will turn it into this big dramatic thing. And then we just feel so overwhelmed we don't do anything. And I want to know, okay, specifically, what can we not handle? And usually they'll say, maybe it'll be like three things, or maybe it'll be like four things. And I'm like, okay, so we have work, we have kids, we have your food, and we have your exercise. What about those four things can we not handle? And then we get very specific and granular with it and factual. And then when we have it all like listed out, it feels so much more manageable because we're not making it into this huge thing that we can't handle. And then I want to help them see that they of course can handle it. And they know they can. They always do. That's just where your thinking is going because it's easier to abandon the plan than to keep
Right.
doing it, of course. So
Yeah.
it's my job to keep, pulling them back on track and showing them they can't do it. Hey, you did it last week. What do you mean you can't handle it this week? Like, of
Right.
course you can. Of course.
Okay. Elena, what is the effect of advertisements out there showing, the perfect body images in magazines, on the movie screens and social media, and how can we deal with that?
Yeah, so I think that's different for every person, but personally, I don't think that's changed a whole lot over the years, of my lifetime. I've seen that since I was in middle school, since I was younger than middle school. It was just in a different form. It was in a tangible magazine, versus on social media. Everywhere I went, we all had magazines when I was younger. At our homes, we brought them to school. So it was just they were at the grocery store. So it's just a different format. Now it's scrolling on social media. So yeah, we may see it more often. It's in our face more often. And it absolutely can have an effect on some people if we let it. It's all about how we're thinking about those images that we're seeing. Because two people can have totally different thoughts about what they're seeing and feel a completely different way. Some can feel, less than and worthless because their body doesn't look like that. The other person can think, if she can get her body like that, I can too. Or maybe they think, I don't ever want to look like that. I like to eat my dinners out every couple days. Totally fine. But I think it's helping people see that it's all about what we think about those images we're seeing than the images themselves. They're not going anywhere. So it's like we can fight it and we can say it's horrible, or we can learn to adapt. And that is what I encourage people to do. There are so many things you can do on social media if it's bothering you. You can unfollow, you can hide things from your feed, you can just not go on social media. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're still going to see it somewhere. You're going to go to the grocery store and there's going to be a magazine in front of you, a shape or fitness or whatever it is. And there's going to be a woman in a bikini with a super sculpted body. And you may have a thought, but that first thought is what your brain's feeding you. The second thought we get to choose. So if your first one is, oh my gosh, I'm a mess. Look at her. Look at me. Your second thought could be, you know what? I'm eating while I'm going to the gym every day. I'm doing the best I can for myself. So it's like that kind of thing. We
Right.
have more power and control over it than we think.
Now, I want to talk about mindset and willpower. How do you encourage those on the fence or waffling with the idea of losing weight uh, to first get excited about it and then to develop the willpower to stick with it?
Yeah. So to get excited about it, I do not encourage people to lose weight if they don't want to ever. I talk a lot about health. Like, yes, there's a lot of foods that will leave us feeling our best. Working out, movement, it's going to leave us feeling amazing. But if weight loss is not a goal for someone, I would never recommend it to them and I would never encourage them to get excited about it. However, if they come in and they're like, um, maybe they want to lose weight, but they're not as much into like the health side of it, I'm absolutely going to encourage that. Like that is the way I work. I don't help people find a program if it's not going to also contribute to health. So that I will help them get excited about for sure. A lot of people come in, they're like, well, I don't like vegetables or whatever. I'm going to help them get excited about liking vegetables for sure. So that I will do. And then to answer your second question, that consistency piece, that is everything because most of us
Willpower.
can start something and stick to it for a week or two. It's maintaining it for the long term that is the hard part. I'm doing a challenge right now with a group of women. It's 30 days and like we're towards the end and everyone's like, we feel amazing, we're doing so great, but we want to maintain this after the 30 days. So this was only a 30-day challenge, but we're going to start working on, okay, what does post 30 days look like? Because that's where you can fall off when you're not, with a group and all the things. So we don't really focus as much on willpower. We focus more on, the mind management piece of it. And it's more the strategic decision making ahead of time using our prefrontal cortex and then following through in the moment. So it's a much more sustainable approach than the willpower that is more trying to do it in the moment when you haven't planned it ahead of time. So it's more of a process, I would say, that comes to making that plan when you're not in the moment and then allowing the urges to not follow through with it when you are in the moment.
Okay.
And that it's kind of a two-prong approach and it's much easier to follow through with. And you're also developing the mental resilience and mental strength every single time you do that. So for example, if somebody says, we'll go back to the eating at night, the snacking at night. So they say on Tuesday, I'm not going to do that. And they make a plan, say Monday night, and then it comes to Tuesday night and they're in the moment and their brain is giving them all the reasons to eat that we talked about before. I had a bad day. I deserve it. I should be able to have it. She doesn't have to do this. Or maybe their husband's eating a cookie sitting next to them. And instead of using willpower and resisting that, what we focus on is allowing the urge to want to do it and sitting there with that, letting it literally just like process through your body. So instead of resisting the food, we're allowing the urge to eat. It's a totally different approach. And once you develop that skill, you can also use it when it comes to allowing the urge to do anything else you don't want to do. Maybe you're spending money that you don't want to spend. Maybe you don't want to yell at your kids every single day. If you can learn that skill, you can allow the urge to do all those things and not do them. I always think about it like I don't know why I relate this to like road rage. Like, do you ever see people driving and maybe they get cut off and you see people like give the finger, chase someone down the road, or like,
Yeah.
honk their horn and go crazy? They don't know how to allow urges. They don't know how to allow the urge to do that. They just act on it. But then there's us. I know I'm not sure if you're, which camp you're in, but I know
I'm
myself.
not in the road rage one.
When somebody like cuts me off, I'm just like, maybe I have like a quick brief thought to like honk my horn or go crazy, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just
Right.
more like, huh, that was interesting. We want to get to that place with our eating and with the other things we truly don't want to be doing. To just like consider the idea, but like, no way, I'm not going to do that. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Now, what things do you tell your clients to focus on as far as their choices of food to eat and the mechanics of eating?
Yes. So when it comes to choices of food to eat, I kind of have two main things that I work with my clients on. One is we want to focus the majority of our diet on like whole, clean, and processed foods. So that's going to be like your clean proteins, like your beef, your chicken, your eggs, any protein source that you eat, and fruits and vegetables, and then any unprocessed whole grains. The majority of your diet, we want it to be things that don't come in a bag, a package, or like through a takeout window. The majority. We want to leave some room for when you want to go for ice cream or for pizza, but like 80 to 90%, we want to be in the other category. The second thing that we combine with that is we want to eat all of our meals to be balanced with macronutrient groups, which means we want our meals and our snacks to have protein, complex carbohydrates. So those are the carbohydrates with fiber. So like your fruits and vegetables, some of your unprocessed whole grains, and your healthy fats. So we definitely want to be mixing those. A lot of times people just go for the carbohydrates because they're very easy. They're usually cheaper, like a bagel. That's going to spike our blood sugar. It's not going to help us feel good when we're done. We're going to be hungry probably 20 minutes later because we're not having our protein and our healthy fats. And it's certainly not contributing to fat loss or weight loss, especially long term. It's going to impact our hormones, all the things. So those are the two things that I focus on with my clients mainly. We have like a meal template that you can plug foods into anywhere you are. And then the third focus is mindful, informed, and intentional eating. So that brings in the piece where you're really honing in on your awareness around your eating. What am I putting in my mouth? Why am I eating it? And do I like my reason? So like that kind of helps to eliminate some of that habitual eating. You're walking through the kitchen, you're just putting your kids' food in your mouth as it's on their plate that they didn't eat. Well, when we start to bring that awareness to it, where we're asking ourselves, what am I eating and why?
Yeah.
Usually we'd be like, I don't want this crust from their peanut butter and jelly. Like, I don't want to eat this. And you stop. But if you don't do that, you keep doing this, you don't even realize it. Or it's like, okay, I'll worry about that later. So that's the other piece that we focus in on, and that helps with some of that overeating. And then the last piece is that informed and intentional eating, which is kind of what we talked about before, but it's starting to learn what's in your food and how it's going to leave you feeling. Preservatives, additives, colors, sugars. You don't have to take it out all out right away, but literally flip over a label and start Googling what's in there. You will be blown away. I've never had someone come back to me and say they couldn't believe what was in their food. It's always like sugars and, hidden preservatives, additives, dairy if they're not trying to have dairy. So it's just starting to read labels and just be informed. Start to get informed about.
It can be very difficult to get a face-to-face therapy appointment these days for those who need it. It can be expensive, difficult to squeeze a visit in your hectic schedule, not to mention how lonely and unsupported you can feel in between sessions and how you just seem to forget all the things your therapist told you since your last visit. No more. Therapy on your terms is now available through onlinetherapy.com. Your personal therapist will be by your side from start to finish, guiding you to a happier you through the sections, worksheets, unlimited messaging, and live sessions available as video, voice only, or text chat. You can do this from wherever you are in the world. Each section includes all the information and hands-on tools that you need to identify, challenge, and overcome your problems. In each worksheet, you will answer questions and get valuable hands-on tools and tips from your therapist on a daily basis. Each week, you will have access to a 45-minute live therapy session with your therapist via video, voice only, or text, providing a perfect opportunity to receive instant guidance and support. You can always send your therapist a message with any questions or thoughts. To start, choose your area of concern, including but not limited to anxiety, depression, OCD, PTSD, stress, anger management, couples therapy, family issues, panic attack, ADHD, chronic pain, eating disorders, abuse, and trauma, and get matched with your therapist. Choose the subscription plan that best suits your needs, starting at just $40 a week. OnlineTherapy.com has received an average rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars. Please click the link in the podcast notes or below this video ad for detailed information and to order and start your therapy journey today to become a happier you.
I'll worry about that later. So that's the other piece that we focus in on, and that helps with some of that overeating. And then the last piece is that informed and intentional eating, which is kind of what we talked about before, but it's starting to learn what's in your food and how it's going to leave you feeling. Preservatives, additives, colors, sugars. You don't have to take it out all out right away, but literally flip over a label and start Googling what's in there. You will be blown away. I've never had someone come back to me and say they couldn't believe what was in their food. It's always like sugars and, hidden preservatives, additives, dairy if they're not trying to have dairy. So it's just starting to read labels and just be informed. Start to get informed about what you're eating and what it's doing to your body. And then being intentional, like we talked about before, like really having that plan ahead of time and then following through with it.
Elena, what's your success rate with those you counsel as far as the clients losing their goal weight and not gaining the weight back?
Yeah. So, I mean, everyone I've worked with makes progress. Like they all make significant progress. And usually, a lot of times it's funny because they'll come in, they say, I want to lose weight. But like as we're working together, they usually really just want to feel more in control around food. They want, like we talked about before, they don't come in really knowing or saying that. But at the end of it, they're like, I just feel like I can go out and not have to eat the things that I used to feel like I had no control over and had to eat. And then they're usually thrilled with that. So it's funny because sometimes the goal does shift as we're working together and they're losing the weight as well. But it's also that other piece that they're like, I feel amazing. I feel so much freedom. When you go into it, sometimes you're like, I'm going to feel so restricted, but you end up feeling so much freedom by doing the things that you always thought were going to cause restriction for you. So they always see progress. I mean, I would say probably 97% of my clients have lost the weight they wanted to. I don't know about all of them if they've kept it off. I know a lot of them have. I don't still work with a lot of them, but I know a lot of them have. I get texts all the time with like, someone the other day had texted me and said they just got their blood work back and like their labs are all in healthy range when they weren't before. I had someone who I worked with years ago and she struggled with PCOS and hormonal issues and it completely changed the way she was eating. And her lab, same thing with like her blood work, her doctor had said like, what are you doing? Like everything looks so much better. She also had been struggling with infertility and ended up getting pregnant. Not that I'm saying that I caused that.
Yeah.
But I do think all of the changes she was making obviously contributed to that. So, so many positive changes, and it's not always only weight related. Usually it's not. It's so many other things that they're doing in their lives that came from, the initial goal. Same with me. My initial goal is weight loss, but where this has brought me is like I never could have imagined, even getting into coaching. I wouldn't be here if I didn't, as a 12-year-old want to lose weight. So it's just can really help in so many amazing ways.
I know you don't follow up on every client, but have you had recidivism? People coming back that you met their goal weight and then a year later they come back and they have a problem? Or is that
No,
just
I have not personally. I haven't.
that's good?
Um, yeah, but that doesn't mean, for all of us, we're human. Even I do a reset every now and then, for myself because we have good habits and they may get a little not as good. So it's like I like to do a reset and I have challenges that I run, in my communities where you just focus on that. It's called a 7-day health reset. It lets us hone back in on like the way we want to be eating, the habits we want to develop for sure, because it's always good to do that.
This is a little bit kind of, well, not really off topic, but just curious. Do you advise or don't advise people to get on the scale like every day?
Yeah, I love this question because I had a very different opinion probably about when I started this, maybe, 8 to 10 years ago. I would have said I didn't weigh myself, don't weigh yourself because it can really like skew with the way you're thinking. I don't think that way anymore because the scale can be a really valuable tool for mind management as well. Because every time you step on the scale, the only reason it bothers us is because we make it mean something about ourselves. But at the end of the day, if we can learn to let that number on the scale not bother us and go in with thoughts that we're already thinking about ourselves that are positive and productive, then it's just a data point. It's just a tool. And I say that now because I've done that with myself. Like I said, for the beginning of like even when I was training coded clients, I was like, throw the scale out. Like, a lot of health people say that. And I didn't weigh myself. And I did went for a period of time where I weighed myself every single day because I wanted to work through what I was making it mean about me. And I feel like if we're just getting rid of the scale because of that, we're losing out on the ability to like on the chance to like build that skill. The other thing is, if we are not weighing ourselves because of how we think it might make us feel, we're still going to have to put clothes on. We're still going to have to, do the other things that we're going to know if we're gaining or losing weight. The scale is just one data point, one gauge of that. So, I mean, because what happens, what we saw this a lot like during COVID and after COVID is people weren't wearing jeans, they were wearing leggings. So they didn't realize that they had put on weight. They weren't weighing themselves because they didn't want to know. And then we got to a point where so many people, there was like a phrase, it was like COVID-15 or something, because, we all kind of just let go of what the habits we wanted to have or, the habits we did have and kind of like turn a blind eye to it. Ignorance is not bliss, I always say, because when we don't pay attention, we don't have control. We don't even know what we're doing. And then we eventually probably are going to have to fix it. So yeah, I don't think the scale is a bad thing at all. I mean, I do think there are some situations if someone's just coming off of maybe working through an eating disorder or something like that, we would tread very lightly. Maybe we wouldn't use a scale. However, we're going to have some type of measurement always, because otherwise we don't know if we're working towards their goal. If their goal is weight loss, if their goal is just getting more, positive relationship with food or feeling more control, we don't even ever have to mention the scale because it's not important. That's not what we're measuring against. It's not the goal. So yeah, I think it's a great tool, and I think it's really helpful to develop a strong relationship with yourself. It can be.
I know I try to weigh myself every day, and the only reason I do it is just from a maintenance standpoint.
Mhm.
So if I hit a certain number going up, I'll say, "Oh, we've got to stop and think
Yeah,
about this."
exactly. I've said this a bunch of times, but it's a data point. It's telling you something. And the other thing is like women fluctuate between like 2 and 7 pounds like every day, water weight based on how you slept the night before. So it's like it's not just a measure of if we've gained fat. So it's like when you take all of that into consideration, I think we really make such a bigger deal about the scale and the number on it than we need to.
Right. Now, with so many weight loss plans and products out there, what's your advice for those contemplating listening to this, buying those products or programs, as so many people seem to fail on them and move on to a new method of losing weight in kind of a vicious cycle? What's your
Mhm.
thought on that?
Yeah, well, like I said before, like I think that never giving up and trying different things is the only way you're going to get to where you want to go. So maybe you have tried a couple approaches and you're back where you were, or you're like, I still have a goal that I haven't reached yet. I'm all for them trying out a new program, as long as I always say like make sure it's benefiting your health as well. Like I said, I'm not a big advocate for the quick fixes. Just because you lose that weight maybe 7 days or whatever it is, and you don't have a plan for day 8 on, you're going to gain it back. So that's something that's sustainable, something that leaves you feeling good and healthier and better afterwards. Anything that checks those boxes, try it out, do it. I'm always trying new things, like a diet pill or something like that. If it's a fit for you, but it's not going to check all those boxes. And are you going to take the pill for literally every day for the rest of your life?
Right.
If you are, then, but it's probably not going to be someone who's going to work with me because they're not going to want to learn the skills that I'm going to teach them.
Right. Right. Now, do you offer, I know you offer in-office counseling. What about virtual?
That's actually all I do is virtual. I shouldn't
Oh,
say all. There are random occasions that I will meet people in person, but I do mainly meet on Zoom.
okay. Okay. So somebody out there listening, outside the United States, not a problem.
No, not at all. Not at all. I've moved quite a bit, so I kind of have a network, a community that's all over the place. I have had local clients and I have met up with them in person too, but it's not a requirement.
Okay. Elena, how can people contact you?
Yeah, so you can find me on any of the socials at Elena, Elena, Nicole, Nicole, Health, Health. So TikTok, Instagram, that's where I'm most active. My website is ElenaNicoleHealth.com. Same thing.com.
Elena Nicole.
Health.com.
Oh,
But really, my socials are the best place. I'm pretty active on there. You can always send me a message, comment on something. I create all my content around questions I'm asked. So if there's something specific you're wondering or need help with, you know, send me a message and I can definitely help you through something I create. Or if you're interested, in talking about working together, we can do that too.
okay. And we're going to put that in the podcast notes.
Awesome.
Now, last question.
Sure.
What is your advice to those out there wanting to take action but are apprehensive for whatever reason?
hmm Yeah. So the first thing we'd have to look at is why are you apprehensive? Because that's your first obstacle right there. We got to figure out why are you apprehensive? Why are you holding yourself back? And then it's going to be go back to a thought. Like I said before, it might be time. Maybe the first one is I just don't have the time. Okay, well, let's look into that a little bit. Literally, let's look at your time factually and then figure out why are we making that a problem? And we always have to make sure it's something we want, that it's a goal of ours. If it's a goal of someone else's or it's not something we want right now, it's not going to work. So if you're apprehensive, that's why I say question why, because we want to make sure that it's not, I don't really want it, because then you're not going to do it. So that would be the first step is you got to dig into why are you apprehensive? What's happening there?
Okay.
And then solve for that. That's where we start.
That's where we're going to start then. I want to thank you so much, Elena, for being on the podcast and making us aware of your work, and much success to you going forward with your work, helping those out there to improve their lives. And like I said, once again, uh, we're going to put all this on the podcast notes. Hopefully, people are going to be listening to this, and those who need your services are going to contact you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been great to be here.
Well, thank you. And for people out there listening who have comments and suggestions, you can reach me at email. It's a wrap with rap at gmail.com. We're on Facebook. It's a wrap with rap. We have a group there, about 2,000 people. We're on Twitter or X at rapper, WRAPPER 130. Instagram, it's a wrap with rap podcast. Our website is it's a wrap with rap.com. All the episodes are on there, previews of future episodes, and there's also some products that are offered on the website as well. YouTube, all the episodes you can view on YouTube. It's a wrap with Rap the podcast uncut. I want to thank everyone for listening or viewing. I want you to all please stay safe. And for now, it's a wrap.